Here we go again. Hi guys, how you doing? Well, when we left off, we had made the cylinder, we've textured it, we've assembled it, now we got to put a bottom on. So today I'm going to talk about how to put a bottom on your cylinder. And there's probably, multiple ways of doing it, but because I am the way I am, I'm going to show you the way I do it. And guess what? I kind of expect you to do it the way I'm doing it, and not find some obscure way or additional way of taking care of the issue at hand. I'm getting my slabs of clay out. These are my bottoms we talked about already. I'm gonna see, remember when I made that? I'm gonna see if that's gonna be big enough to work as my bottom for that piece. If not, I've got plenty of slab here to work with. Let's take this out real quick and see if that's gonna be big enough. If not, I'm gonna have to texture another slab to put in. Just a little small, bummer. That would have been pretty fun to have that as the bottom of my piece when I'm taking a drink. I have that skull and crossbones staring at me. You can do it, it's possible. I just didn't make that big enough. I wasn't thinking about that when I was doing it. Let's cut this slab. So now that's gonna be my bottom. But what I don't have on here is a texture. And remember, on this project, either the bottom of the tumbler and mug or the interior of the bottom of the mug has to have a texture applied to it. So I'm gonna grab that texture pad to go along with my bones and stones tumbler. I'm using that same cobblestone, and I'm going to toss this on there. If it's a small piece like this and I'm doing my bottom, I can just slap it on there. I don't want you to do this on your big slab, all right? It's too big, it's too cumbersome. You're not gonna get it lined up perfectly. So do the way I showed you, where you're gonna lay the slab down and use the rolling pin to do that. But for this, I've got it smooth. I've red rubber ribbed it already, and I'm going to slap it down there. If you do this in the studio, be courteous to everyone and say incoming, because it makes a loud noise. So incoming, slap that down, and now I've got the cobblestone texture on this slab. I want my cobblestone to be on the outside. So when I got this tumbler put together, it's stone everywhere on the exterior. Now I could turn back around, and I think I will just for giggles, do the other side. So now no matter which way you look, inside and out, you're gonna have cobblestone on this piece. I'm making it bigger than I need, and that's what I want you to do. I want you to make this piece oversized. We are gonna cut this to fit this after it's attached. I do not want you to, and by the way, I don't want you to cut this in a circle and then try to stick it on here. We're gonna stick this rectangle on here and then cut it to size once it's attached. So like everything we do when we're putting something together, first I'm gonna make sure it's nice and round, because that is part of the curriculum on this project. It's part of the rubric to make sure it's as round as you can get it. So I'm going to aggressively score. Always, when you score, you are making nice big cuts in it and not faint little lines. If you don't aggressively score your clay, you have a high possibility of it breaking on you. It's separating. So I've got this vinegared. I'm gonna set it down on the slab. I'm gonna move it around. And now I've got a wet spot on there. Make it easier for me. If you're at home doing this, you may not have a banding wheel, but you can do it anyway. I'm going to score my wet spot. Again, aggressive scoring. I'm going to add vinegar. Now I'm going to attach these two pieces together. I'm holding the slab and I'm pushing down, putting a little bit of force on this and giving a slight twist. I'm trying to make sure those two pieces of clay are sticking together. I don't want my tumbler or my mug to leak. So I've got that attached on there pretty well. Now we're going to cut it to size. Whatever your cutting tool happens to be at home, whether you've got a stylized needle probe, you've got a small finishing nail that you can use, something like that is great to cut with. Banding wheel is really easy. I'm going to hold my needle probe still, and I'm going to try to vertically, I'm going to try to cut on this side. I'll go backwards here. Holding my tool in place, rotating, and cutting this piece right next to the wall. And then I'm going to cut off the excess. Now I've got, with a little cleanup, I've got a piece that fits custom to my work. But I hear you out there, you're saying, Mr. Payne, that's kind of sloppy. That doesn't look like anything you would do. You're right, I'm not going to leave it sloppy. That's going to bring me to the next thing you can do at home. This is a plastic knife. I'm going to use this like I do that wood knife that we have in the studio. When you're in the studio, you'll see me using it. But you're at home and you don't have a wood knife at the house. What you do have is a plastic knife. I took this out to concrete and I ground it down to a point. And then I got a piece of sandpaper and I just went back and forth to make sure I had a little bit of an edge to it. So now that that has a little bit of an edge to it, I'm going to put my glasses on so I can see what I'm doing. Hey, there you are. I'm going to, again, hold my knife still and rotate the cup, and I'm going to cut off any excess clay from that bottom slab that I put on. So any excess and unwanted clay is cut off with the plastic knife, trimmed to a point like our wood knives in the studio. And now I've got a fairly clean attachment there. See how round that is and pretty it is? Ooh. Ah, thank you. Cleanup. I'm gonna do a little bit of cleanup on here now. And remember we talked about when we did the side seam, how we came back in and cleaned up the side seam with a pencil. I could do the same thing here. I could bring these lines out and create my brick wall or my stone wall and carry those lines onto the bottom to give the illusion that I don't have a slab on there. Again, these are things I'll do that you don't have to sit there and watch me do. It's kind of boring to do. Just showing you what you can do. Now, we talked yesterday when we went over the rubric about how we want the bottom concaved. We don't want a flat bottom on it. We want a rounded bottom on it. So in the studio, we're going to use a hump mode. We'll just put it over hump mode to get it round. At home, you don't have one. But you got this nice ball of your hand right here that I can just lightly tap and round, and now I've got that concaved. Why do we do that? Several reasons. One, structural integrity. I don't have that full flat bottom, and a lot of times that'll help with S cracking. Not so much in hand-built stoneware, but it's a good practice to get into. Also, glazing. When I go to glaze this, remember, the foot of your piece is what comes in contact with the surface. And by concaving it, the only thing that comes in contact is this outer edge. That way all this area can be glazed. And I don't pick my glasses to take a drink and I've got an ugly unglazed bottom. I'm gonna have that same coloration that's in the body of my piece into the bottom of my piece also, except for that one little band around there, the ring that's gonna be touching. So, done there. Last thing we talk about on this is cleaning the lip. So first thing I'm gonna do is come by and just pinch the edge. We should have done this on our pinch pot bowls also. So it's the same technique that we did on our pinch pot bowl carried over to the next project. I'm trying to thin this out, get an even thickness all the way around. And once I've got that thinned out, I'm gonna come back in with my wet fingers and work that lip. Remember, I'm going back and forth and I'm rotating my hand to make sure I got a nice round surface on here. You're gonna be drinking out of this thing constantly, I hope. I hope it's your favorite mug and tumbler that's in your cupboard and you go to it every time you wanna drink and you're gonna put your mouth on it. You want it to be comfortable. But I guarantee you, if you don't smooth the lip out on this thing and it feels nasty when you put it to your mouth, you're not gonna be drinking out of this thing very often. It's gonna end up being a pencil holder or something and not a drinking vessel. Clean the lip up. Make it comfortable to drink out of. Perfect? No. Better? Yes. Now I've got a smooth lip to drink out of. And I'll do all those little fun things of making sure it's round, making sure it's smooth, taking care of the seam across here. I'll clean up the seam where I applique the skull and crossbones on a little bit more, make sure it's nice and neat. And the last thing I'll do is I'll put my name on the bottom, which leads us to something else. You may be saying, Mr. Payne, I've got a full texture on there. I don't want to mess up my texture by writing my name on it. You can feel free to write your name right along that edge there. It's a great place to put it. All right? Good? Any questions? No? Have a great day. See ya.